Warning, the following 30-minute pre-recorded podcast contains a guy giving his own personal opinions going on in sports, entertainment, and other things happening in the world, but no politics. Also, he will try his best not to swear, but then again, he might let out a swear or two loose because that's how people talk sometimes. So, if you do not want to hear him babble and possibly swear for about 30 minutes, you may click out at this time. And if you have not clicked off, enjoy the podcast.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's showtime.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Colton R's Not So Life podcast. The podcast where we are headed to the West Coast to play some football. More specifically, Seattle, Washington. Because that is where we are going to be playing football this week. And, Seattle's a pretty tough environment, especially if you're in a Power 5 conference, which is the Big Ten. And Washington, they used to be part of the Pac-12, then they moved to the Big Ten, and now here we are. Here we are today. So, yeah. First Big Ten game of the season for Ohio State, and it's away. More specifically, at the Washington Huskies. More specifically, Seattle, Washington. More specifically, Husky Stadium in Seattle, Washington. More specifically, it is the first time that we have ever met as Big Ten opponents. Because back in the olden days, we have played Washington many times before. When they were in the Pac-12, and before the Pac-12, the Pac-10. So yeah, we have played Washington a lot. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what we can do against Washington in the Big Ten, because they're very new. It's like their second season, the Big Ten, and they didn't really, do well. They did well. I mean, they did make the Sun Bowl, only to lose to Louisville, the Louisville Cardinals, which was pretty insane, because they had a chance to win the game, and then they blew it. They blew it. So, yeah. But don't worry, they're back with a vengeance. Because Washington is now 3-0, and they just beat their rival Washington State for the Apple Cup. So, yeah, there was that. And also, they've got a very mobile quarterback. So, that's interesting to know. And not only that, they've got a good wide receiver core too. So yeah, their quarterback can throw and their wide receivers can catch. That's only thing I know for the offense for Washington. Defense, I don't really know anything about the defense. I haven't really had a chance to see what their defense is like. But probably tough. Probably definitely tough. So, all Ohio State has to do, here are my keys to the game for Ohio State. My keys for the offense: protect Julian Sand at all costs. Seriously. Protect him at all costs, because if that Washington defense just, all of a sudden breaks through and sacks him multiple times, or he loses the football, it's going to be a long day in Washington, the state of Washington. And, it's not going to be pretty. And the last time we lost to Washington was actually at Washington during the John Cooper era in 1994. And we lost that game 25-16, which was an ouchie. That was an ouchie. But, yeah. And the last time we played Washington was in the Rose Bowl in 2019. And we almost blew that. So, yeah. But back to my keys to the game. Offensive line needs to protect Julian Sand at all costs so he doesn't get sacked or lose the football and causes massive turnovers. Also, implement the run game and the passing game at a 50-50 basis. Basically, just run the football, and then when it comes time to pass. Do it on a 50-50 basis. Because if you do that, they're more than likely not to know what the next play is going to be. So, yeah. Keep it 50-50 and you'll be all right. Keys to the defense: contain the quarterback at all costs and make the tackles. Because Washington's quarterback, if he finds a way to get mobile and just run the football all by himself, we're screwed. So yeah, find ways to contain the quarterback, and when you have him in your sights, actually tackle the dude. Because if you don't tackle the dude, again, we are screwed. So yeah. So make the tackles and also find ways to contain the quarterback. Find ways to contain the quarterback and make your tackles on the quarterback. If not, we're screwed. So yeah. But honestly, that's all I gotta say about Ohio State and Washington. I know it's a little bit of a low thing, like not much to talk about, but oh well. But at least I can provide some facts for you guys. So this is going to be the 13th overall meeting between Ohio State and Washington. And as I said before, the last time we played each other was in the Rose Bowl in 2019. We won that, almost blew that lead, and Urban Meyer was set off into the sunset as he retired from coaching college football. The first time that Washington and Ohio State met was in 1957 on October 5th. So, that's pretty interesting. That anniversary is coming up. So, the first time they played, that was back, how many years ago would that be? 68 years ago? Wow, 68 years ago, almost. So, yeah. The only time Washington has beat us were in the years 1966, 1986, and 1994. And we beat Washington in the years 1957, 1958, 1965, 1969, 1993, 1995, 2003, 2007, 2019. So, yeah. And it's crazy to see that Woody Hayes lost to Washington in 1966. But then again, that was because, excuse me. That was because he was in the middle of, not being able to recruit very well because of the 1961 incident with the Ohio State faculty denying that Rose Bowl invitation. Yeah, that's why. That's why he lost to Washington. Because of the thing that happened in 1961. Couldn't recruit very well, and that's why. But yeah. And it's crazy to see that Earl Bruce lost to these guys. But not crazy that John Cooper lost to these guys in 94. Not really crazy. But hey, it's whatever. Alright. Now I'm officially done talking about Ohio State and Washington. Now it's time to move over to the rest of the college football stuff that happened on week 4. So, Clemson lost to Syracuse. LOL. So, Clemson's now 1-3. Technically, they should be 0-4, but they somehow beat Troy. So, yeah. They should be 0-4, but they are 1-3 because they beat Troy somehow. So, yeah. Clemson their dynasty is over. OVER, over. The Clemson dynasty is over, all thanks to NIL. And it's beautiful. Michigan, aka the Cheaters, they somehow beat Washington. I mean, not Washington, Nebraska. Ugh. I'm getting everything mixed up now. But yeah, Michigan beat Nebraska somehow. Don't know how. But, yeah, that was not cool. Not cool at all. Texas Tech proved that they are a serious Big 12 contender because they beat the crap out of Utah. And, yeah. I saw that game. And I was like, yeah, Texas Tech definitely going to be a contender for the Big 12. And speaking of Big 12, Oklahoma State head coach Mike Gundy. He sadly was fired after losing to Tulsa. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Honestly, I thought they'd just let him coach until, the end of the season. But no. Apparently, losing to Tulsa was too much. And what's crazy is Tulsa and Oklahoma State are rivals, which is pretty crazy. I didn't know that was a fact until I looked it up. So yeah, apparently if you lose to Tulsa, you now get fired. Because Tulsa's your rival. Now usually it'd be the other way around. Excuse me, where if you lost to Oklahoma, you get fired. But since Oklahoma is now in the SEC, can't really, do much. So yeah. So sadly, the Mike Gundy era has come to an end. Mike Gundy took over Oklahoma State back in 2005 after Les Miles went off to LSU. And yeah, Les Miles was the head coach at Oklahoma State. Then after he got beaten badly in the Alamo Bowl by Ohio State in 2004, he was like, I'm going to the SEC to coach LSU. And then Mike Gundy took over. And, yeah, he did pretty well as a head coach. But only one Big 12 championship, and that was in 2011. Back when they were major BCS contenders. And honestly, I thought that Oklahoma State team could have been a BCS national championship contender, but unfortunately, due to them losing to Iowa State in 2011, they couldn't, go play for the BCS national championship. So yeah, but here's a crazy thing. The Kali Matrix rankings proclaimed Oklahoma State as national champions in 2011, but Oklahoma State doesn't claim that title. They do claim the 1945 national championship for some reason, but it's whatever. Yeah, so Mike Gundy is fired, and he gave off like one of the greatest sound bites ever. He was the head coach that said, "Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40." And that was freaking hilarious. That was a hilarious soundbite. Like, seriously. That was a great soundbite. So, yeah. And, I think the last Big 12 championship game Oklahoma State was in, I think it was 2010 21 or 22. I think it was I think it was 21 because they lost to Baylor. And yeah, they lost to Baylor in the Big 12 championship, and then they beat Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl, which was pretty insane that they beat Notre Dame. But man, losing to Baylor in the Big 12 championship, that was crazy. So yeah. But yeah, that was Oklahoma State's last Big 12 championship appearance, and then they hadn't made an appearance since then, because, well, actually they did, 2023. Okay, so 2023 was the last time, and they played Texas and got smacked by Texas. So that was their official last Big 12 championship appearance. Okay. See, I try to remember things as best as I possibly can, but sometimes you just need the internet to help fact check you for sometimes. So yeah, and then after going, 3-9 last season, everybody was like saying, yeah, this could be the end of Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State. And this week it was. What a shame. So yeah, another coach bites the dust. Who's next? My money is on Luke Fickell. That's my guess. Luke Fickell will get fired next. That's my prediction. So yeah. And then finally in week 4, Indiana. Last year they went 11-1 in the regular season. Their only loss was to Ohio State, of course. And they still made the playoffs, where they lost to Notre Dame in the first round. And this past Saturday, they dropped 63 points on Illinois. And they upset Illinois at Indiana. The game was at Indiana. And they upset Illinois. And I'm like, what? Like what? How is that even possible? How? Just how? I didn't think Indiana was that serious. Like, if you look at the opponents Indiana played in the regular season, they scored 27 on Old Dominion. That's not that much. And then they won 56-9 against Kennesaw State, which is a normal amount. And then they obliterate Indiana State 73-0. And the next week, they destroy Illinois by 53. Illinois by 53. This is Brett Bielema, Illinois. And you destroy him 63-10? Oh my God. So, my guessing, in 3 weeks, if Oregon upsets Penn State this week, which Oregon and Penn State are playing this week, and then Indiana remains undefeated after they play Iowa this week, in 3 weeks, we could see Indiana versus Oregon at Oregon in a huge Big Ten matchup with a lot of Big Ten championship implications. Yes, we're getting into the Big Ten championship implications in, like, the second week of October. So, this could be huge. Because if Ohio State, if if either Ohio State or Penn State remains undefeated, which I hope Ohio State remains undefeated, one of those teams could be playing either Oregon or Indiana in the Big Ten Championship. If it's Ohio State playing Oregon in the Big Ten Championship, that's going to be huge. If it's Ohio State playing Indiana in the Big Ten Championship, that's going to be freaking crazy, because if somehow we get an Ohio State-Indiana Big Ten Championship, that would be the most insane thing ever. And you know who would win that? I want Ohio State to win that, because it would prove that Indiana still cannot beat Ohio State, especially if it's for the Big Ten Championship, because that would be on the icing on the cake for us. But it would still make Indiana playoff eligible, so they would still make the playoffs. But holy crap, Indiana could be a big possible threat to the Big Ten, to the whole Big Ten. Excuse me. And they put these guys on notice. Seriously. They put the whole Big Ten on notice after this huge upset of Illinois. And if Indiana somehow manages to remain undefeated and make the Big Ten Championship, dude, they could make a playoff run. And I'm not going to say this, but they might have a chance to win the national championship. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's a possibility. It's a weird possibility that no one wants to think, but they think it anyway, because it'd be like, yeah, it'd be cool and stuff, but no, nobody wants to see that. That's like saying, oh, the Cleveland Browns are going to win the Super Bowl this year because they just are, and they play good defense and stuff. That's not going to happen. Indiana winning a national championship is like the Browns winning the Super Bowl. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But if somehow it does happen, then hell has frozen over, and we have all have questions for these things happening. So, yeah. But, yeah, watch out, Big Ten. Indiana's trying to do some damage, which is very interesting and crazy. So, yeah. All right, time for a little bit of NFL talk. The Browns beat the Packers. I don't know how that happened, but they somehow beat the Packers. And it looked like the Packers were going to win with a field goal, and then all of a sudden Denzel Ward comes out of nowhere and blocks it. And then the Browns get in field goal range and kick a 55-yard field goal to win the game. And I am surprised. Very, 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 very surprised that happened. I didn't think it would happen, but it did happen. The Browns, they played to win the game. That's all I'm going to say. The Browns played to win the game. Just like Herm Edwards quote, "You play to win the game." And the Browns played to win the game. Unlike their in-state rival, the Bengals, who got smacked by the Vikings because they have no quarterback, and they are now 2-1. And the Browns 1-2, which is crazy. And this week, the Browns are going to go up against the Lions. I have no hope for these guys. The Lions are going to smack the Browns. And then you got the Bengals against the Broncos. I say it's a toss-up, but I'm leaning more towards the Broncos, just because the Bengals got no quarterback. So, yeah. All right. Done talking about the NFL today. Because now, it is time to move on to Week 6 of my high school football picks for the Columbus metro area. Yay! So, we got a ton of games. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And that includes the game of the week. So 18 games I get to predict. Last week, I went 15-2. Yeah. 15 wins, 2 losses. 15 correct picks, 2 losses. And I got the game of the week correct. So I'm 3-2 for the game of the week. That's 3 for 5. So yeah. And also for this week's picks, number 11 Harvest Prep, they're on a bye week. Again. Why are we having high schools go on bye weeks? That's insane. It never happened ever at all. I don't believe. I don't know. Sheesh. But seriously, what is up with these bye weeks, man? It's crazy. Alright, so the first game we're going to start off with, it's a pretty epic rivalry game between Bishop Watterson, the number 1 team in Columbus, against number 17 St. Francis de Sales. And not only is this a rivalry game, it's also a Friday Night Rivals game. So yeah, if you're in Columbus, or you live in Columbus and want to watch this epic rivalry game of epic proportions, you can watch on the CW Columbus. Check your local listings. It'll also be on the cwcolumbus.com and on ABC6 YouTube page. So yeah, if you want to watch that football game, CW Columbus on your TV, on the internet, or the ABC6 YouTube page. So yeah. I'm picking Bishop Watterson because I don't think St. Francis de Sales has a chance. Because, yeah, Bishop Watterson, they're the number 1 team in Columbus and basically the number 1 team in the state. There's no way they're gonna lose this game. Bishop Watterson all the way. Alright, the next game is Lancaster against number 2 Pickerington Central. I'm going Pickerington Central. The next game, Westerville Central, and they're going against number 3 Pickerington North. Sorry, Central. Pickerington North has got your number, and they're going to destroy you. It's going to be a blowout. Pickerington North over Westerville Central. That's a blowout. So it's a huge blowout. Alright, we got number 13 Hilliard Bradley going against number 4 Upper Arlington. I'm going with Upper Arlington. Alright, next game is going to be number 5 Olentangy Orange against number 15 Hilliard Davidson. I'm going with Olentangy Orange on this one. I just think they have the better team than Davidson. So yeah. Alright, the next game we got Padua Franciscan against Big Walnut. Big Walnut's number 6 in Columbus, and I think they're going to get the win over Padua Franciscan High School. Alright, the next game is going to be Central Crossing versus Gahanna Lincoln. I'm going Gahanna Lincoln. There's no way Central Crossing is going to get a W over Gahanna Lincoln. They have a really good football team. So, yeah. Alright, the next game is going to be Olentangy Liberty against Dublin Kaufman. Number 8 Olentangy Liberty against number 25 Dublin Kaufman. Definitely going to go with Olentangy Liberty on this one. Now we got Thomas Worthington versus number 9 Olentangy. Going to go Olentangy. Next game is going to be number 10 London against Urbana. I'm going to go with London. Alright, now we got number 12 Canal Winchester against Newark. I'm going to go with Canal Winchester. And next game, we got number 14, New Albany against number 23, Grove City. I'm going with New Albany. And next, we got Hilliard Derby against number 16, Olentangy Berlin, who has not won a football game. And they're somehow 16th in Columbus, even though they haven't won a football game. So yeah, an 0-5 Olentangy Berlin is number 16 in Columbus, which makes no sense. So I did not pick Olentangy Berlin. I picked Hilliard Derby. I think Derby is going to beat Olentangy Berlin, but excuse me, but somehow Olentangy Berlin will still be ranked for some reason. I don't know why. The Columbus metro area polls are very weird. Next game, we got Marysville against number 18, Dublin Jerome. I'm going to go with Dublin Jerome. All right, now the next game, number 19, Shelby High School against River Valley. I'm going with Shelby. Worcester against number 21, West Holmes. I'm going to go with West Holmes. And then St. Charles versus number 22, Bishop Hartley. I'm going with Bishop Hartley. All right, and now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Colton R's high school football game of the week. And oh boy, I have been waiting for this matchup ever since the high school football season started. It is a historic rivalry that began in 1975 between two local high schools. And boy, oh boy, 50 years later, it's still a great rivalry. This rivalry I am talking about is the Westerville North Warriors, the number 24 Westerville North Warriors against the number 20 Westerville South Wildcats. And yes, this is the 50th anniversary of the rivalry. So, yeah. 50 years of Westerville North versus Westerville Central. Now, let me tell you guys something. This rivalry means a lot to a lot of alumni and, the students and the players and the coaches. So, yeah. This rivalry is going to determine some things. One, it's going to determine, the first thing that's going to determine is, can Stanley Jackson continue to rule the Ville as Westerville North's head coach? Because Stanley Jackson, he is Westerville North's head coach, and last year he won against South. And it was the first time ever in years that North has ruled the Ville. I think it was like the first time since 2005. And that was when my second oldest brother was playing his senior season. So yeah, my brother lost to North in his senior season. And North ruled the Ville that year in 2005. And now North has a chance to go back to back, which is pretty insane. And it's also going to determine if the head coach at South, Eric Calland, can he beat North? Because there's a lot of things here. Lots of things are on the line. Well, technically one thing is on the line, and that's the Westerville City Championship. Because if you beat your two rivals, you rule the Ville, is what we call it. So yeah, if you beat your two rivals head to head, you rule the Ville. You are the city champs. So yeah, lots at stake. A lot is at stake here. And Westerville North last year beat South 3-0 in a rainstorm. A rainstorm got Stanley Jackson his first win against South as the head coach at North. A rainstorm is what led North to win the city championship last year. A rainstorm broke a 19-year streak. Well, technically it'd be an 18-game streak. 18-game winning streak against North. Westerville South had an 18-game winning streak against North. And last year, North broke it in a rainstorm. A rainstorm broke a streak and created a new one. And a rainstorm changed history. So Stanley Jackson, right now, This season, he is 2-3. Westerville South is 3-2. Westerville North. A lot of people are saying Westerville North has a very great chance to beat South this year. A lot of people are saying that Westerville North has the team to beat South this year. Everybody's saying North is going to win the Ville this year. And to that I say, a rainstorm bailed you guys out last year. So yeah, last year a rainstorm bailed North out for a win. And guess what the weather is Friday? Completely dry. There ain't going to be no rainstorms to bail out Westerville North. There ain't going to be any rainstorms to bail out, the wide receivers and the running backs. So they got to be holding on to that ball. And no rainstorms are going to bail out Stanley Jackson here, because I do believe that Westerville South will go into Wildcat Stadium and defeat Westerville North and rule the Ville, and they will take back the city championship, which they should have won last year, but again, a rainstorm bailed out Westerville North. So yeah, the rainstorm basically gave Westerville North the championship last year, but guess what? No rainstorms in the forecast for Friday. So I'm going Westerville South over Westerville North. And that is my pick for the game of the week. So hopefully my alma mater, Westerville South, will beat Westerville North. And definitely there's not going to be any rainstorms, because come on. Last year a rainstorm helped North win. And now there's no rainstorms. If South somehow doesn't beat these guys in a completely dry atmosphere, something's up, man. Seriously. But it is to be determined. To be determined until they play the game Friday. So, yeah. Westerville North, Westerville South, going to be a big game in Westerville. Lots of people going to be watching that. And I do believe South will win. Hopefully. Because if they don't beat North this year, that's crazy. Because last year, the rainstorm kind of screwed them. And basically, North was thankful for that rain. So, yeah. And honestly, nobody could hold on to the football, but hopefully, with the dry conditions, people can the players can hold on to the football. So, yeah. It's very important that the players hold on to the football when they're passing and rushing. So, yeah. Because last year, nobody could hold on to the football because of the rain, but this year, there will be holding on to the football. And South will hold on to the football more, and they will win against North. So, yeah. All right, folks. Well, that is it for high school picks. I hope I'm right, especially for the Westerville North, Westerville South game. And, yeah. So, before we go, we got some games for you to watch. Some college games for you to watch out for. Ohio State, Washington is one of them. So, yeah, watch Ohio State and Washington. It's going to be a great game. I hope Ohio State wins. USC versus Illinois. That's going to be an interesting one. Don't know who's going to win that one. That's a toss-up. LSU versus Mississippi, also known as Ole Miss. I'm going towards Ole Miss to beat LSU. Then we got Oregon versus Penn State. I'm going with Oregon on this one. Excuse me. I do believe Oregon will shock the world and upset Penn State, because I think the Penn State Oregon is the whiteout game. So Oregon's about to upset Penn State in their annual whiteout game. So, yeah. And then you got Alabama versus Georgia at Georgia. And honestly, I think Alabama should win. Just because Georgia got lucky when they avoided the upset against Tennessee. So, yeah. I'm picking Alabama over Georgia. Why not? Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for me for this podcast episode. So, thank you all for tuning in and listening in. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, please smack a like on this. Subscribe if you're new to this channel. Check out my other videos. Check out the other podcast episodes I have done. Because, I'd really appreciate the support and stuff. And with that, guys, I will see you all next week for another exciting podcast episode where I still talk about Ohio State football, and I hopefully do it happy, because if I do it sad, I'm gonna be angry and sad, and yeah, I just want Ohio State to win. So yeah. So anyways, thank you all so much for watching. For tuning in and listening in. And I will see you all next time for another exciting adventure. Well, not exciting adventure, but another podcast episode of, this podcast. So, yeah. So, with that, guys, I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye!
Disappointed!
If Westerville South wins, it's going to be Wildcat Mania in Westerville. Just letting you guys know.